All right, my unfortunate friends, I'm singing the beginning of Steely Dan's Do It Again, singing along with the band. I hope you enjoy it. Today's episode is 11.2, Saturday the 6th of March 2021, Heal In, Gift of Love. We'll be reading from Opening the Door to Bon, the proper way to receive the Bon teachings, qualities required of students, qualities to avoid. This is chapter 2, page 24 of this book, Opening the Door to Bon by Nyima Dapkpa. In the morning you go gunning for the man who's for your water, and you fight till he's a goner if they catch you at the border. But the hounds are all hanging as they drag you by your feet. But the hangman isn't hanging, and they put you on the street. Yeah, we go back, Jack, do it again. Wheel turning round and round, you go back, Jack, do it again. You know she's no high climber, and you found your only friend in a room with your feet timer, and you're sure you're near the end. And you love a little wild one, and she brings you only sorrow. All the time you know she's crying, you'll be on your knees tomorrow. Yeah, you go back, Jack. All right. Put on some quiet music. Put on some Bach. The concertos. And we'll start with Bach, concerto for 3 harpsichord. Okay, today's reading. In other words, the ultimate goal of practice is to discover your natural state of mind and to achieve enlightenment. Well, isn't that obvious? All right, so what we want to do is to do this. In order to do this, we need to purify negative thoughts which are influenced by the 5 poisons. Anger, jealousy, pride, attachment, ignorance. So we have ignorance, where you fall into becoming like an animal, forgetting who you are, which is the mind of clear light, or in the Christian tradition, the son or daughter of the Most High God, created in the image of God. Selfishness, you become like a hungry ghost, just coveting things for your own self-indulgence, or like a hell being, anger, and pride, like one of the gods, long-lived gods, or envy for the gods in terms of the demigods. And of course there's attachment to the things of this world, to the things of the body, believing you are your body or an attribute of your body, like your mind, the temporary attribute, and that your analysis will indicate, if it's done properly, that nothing withstands the scrutiny, and that there's nothing really of a everlasting, substantial nature except that which is indivisible, invisible, inscrutable, and connected to what is the great perfection. What is the mighty I Am presence? What is it that's in you that is always there, that's timeless. The ability to generate pure thoughts helps you to be of benefit to other sentient beings and give a meaningful purpose. It gives a meaningful purpose to your life. As an example, we can be like a lotus flower, which is beautiful even though it is growing in the mud. Its beauty is never affected by its surroundings, as we are born into the miserable conditions of this cyclic existence. We need to emphasize how to overcome or free ourselves from suffering by applying the teachings to our everyday practice. We are not affected by the poisons of this world. The teachings of Bon are like a mirror that is able to reflect the appearance of objects. In the same way, through practice, you will be able to notice and realize the influence of negative thoughts and the 5 poisons, and therefore mindfully control and subdue them. Use the practice as a mirror to reflect your inner self. The more you are able to overcome or subdue negative thoughts, the more you will improve your understanding and the level of your practice. 2 sets of characteristics are required of practitioners. Okay, what are they? Qualities required of students. Qualities to avoid is 1 set. The 3 faults of the container and the 9 faults to avoid, 12 total. So qualities to avoid and qualities to achieve. So 2 A's, qualities to avoid, qualities to achieve. 12 avoid, and then the knowledge of holding, knowledge of understanding, the knowledge of realization. The 3 faults that each student should avoid, known as the 3 faults of the container, are being like an upside-down container, being like a container with a hole in the bottom, or being a container with poison inside, being like an upside-down container, symbolized by a pot that is upside down. When you are a disciple listening to the teachings, your consciousness has to be focused on what the teacher is saying, so you hear every word the teacher said. If instead your consciousness is focused elsewhere, no matter how many valuable teachings you will receive, you will be like a pot that is held upside down under the water tap. No matter how much water flows over it, no water will remain inside. The presence of your physical body is not sufficient to fulfill the purpose of receiving the teachings. Although you are hearing the sound of your teacher's voice, you become like a cat or dog in the classroom who can hear the sounds of Bon teaching, but can never understand the meaning of the words. So that's upside down container. Pot that is upside down, it will never collect the teachings. It's not able to focus, to collect them, put itself together. You could act like a dog or a cat that hears the teachings and is unable to comprehend and apply them. Number 2, the 3 faults of the container. Number 2, being like a container with a hole in the bottom, symbolized by a pot with a hole in its bottom. It is important to remember what you hear with clear awareness and not to forget what you have heard of the teachings, and apply the teachings to your practice and your day-to-day life, and avoid the negative actions of body, speech, and mind, as these are the sources of all suffering. If you are not able to remember the teachings in their essence, you are lacking the right focus. If your consciousness is completely distracted by endless projections of past, present, or future plans, then your mind is like a pot with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much water flows in, no water will remain in the pot. In other words, no matter how much you hear, nothing will remain in your mind to practice because you are distracted. You have to receive the teachings with your full attention. Being like a container. Number 3, being like a container. Not with a hole in the bottom, not upside down so that it doesn't receive. It's like a poison inside, symbolized by a pot with poison in it. That's one of the faults. It's important to receive the teaching with pure attitude so that you can benefit all sentient beings. If you listen to the teaching under the influence of any of the 5 poisons, your mind is like a pot with poison, no matter how much delicious food is contained in the pot. None can be eaten. It is essential that the student clearly focuses on what the teacher says, the essence of the teaching, then keeps this essence in realization. If you generate any of the 5 poisons while attending a teaching because you are under the influence of that poison, the teaching, despite its great value, will not bring about a positive result toward achieving your realization and further developing your wisdom. In conclusion, these 3 faults are the main obstructions to receiving the teachings, practicing them and applying them toward achieving realization. It is very important to realize the interconnectedness of receiving the teachings through the ear consciousness, holding their essence in the mind consciousness without forgetting and practicing their essence. Integrating this practice in your life every day will make life better, happier, and more meaningful. So, to just sum up and review, qualities to avoid: 3 faults of the container. Each student should avoid being like an upside-down container that cannot focus and collect the teachings, hold the teachings. Being like a container with a hole in the bottom that constantly dissipates the teachings, that can't still the mind long enough to focus and gain realization. It will not bring you under the influence of a poison. Well, that's the next one. Okay, being a container with a hole in the bottom. It's important to remember and not to forget what you've heard of the teachings, applying them to your daily practice. If you're not able to remember the teachings in their essence and you're lacking the right focus, and you're completely distracted by endless projections of past, present, or future plans. In other words, no matter how much you hear, nothing will remain in your mind to practice because you are distracted. So it's you're unwilling to connect and remember them, unable to collect them. Being like an upside-down container, because your consciousness is not focused on the teaching, or that you can't remember the teachings, or you can't put it together. And then the poison is when you fall under a poison. The 3 faults, these 3 faults are the main obstructions. So in other words, you could be receiving the teachings and then fall under pride because you want to be proud of yourself for having advanced and become a more advanced human being than other people, and that's basically false pride. 9 faults to avoid. According to the Dzogchen Yang-se Longchen, there are 9 faults to be avoided by Bon practitioners: distrusting the Bon teaching, disrespecting teachers, lacking commitment to your practice, wasting the essence of the teaching by not practicing, not valuing the practice, postponing your practice because of family or other responsibilities, being distracted, lacking clarity in practice, and feeling sadness or disappointment because of long practice sessions or teachings. All right, distrusting the Bon teachings. Not trusting the Bon teachings will automatically block your ability to enter the pathway of enlightenment. You will not receive power and blessings from the 3 jewels, the enlightened ones, the Bon teachings, those teachings of their founder, Tampa Shenrab, or the great masters who have achieved realization and have generated the mind of enlightenment. It is as if you have 2 amputated legs and you will not be able to go from one place to another without the help of someone you trust. Likewise, if you do not trust your teacher, even though he has great powers and blessings to give you, you will not be able to receive those blessings. When you practice in order to achieve enlightenment, one of the most essential things you need is trust and faith in the teachings and the teacher. Only this trust and faith will open the door to the teachings. Trust is equally necessary for everyone. If you generate trust within yourself, you will have a good basis for your practice. It will be like the glue that you can use to adhere the essence of the teachings to your mind stream. Trust is the source of these qualities. Disrespecting the teacher. If you do not have respect toward the teacher, who is the source of your knowledge and wisdom, it will be impossible for you to achieve enlightenment. Even though the Bon teachings are the root source of the achievement of enlightenment, nothing will enable you to do this without receiving instructions and guidance from the teacher. If you do not view your teacher as a living embodiment of the founder of Bon or of the Buddha, of compassion, you will not be able to receive the knowledge and blessings in the right way. What is the most important quality needed to receive the essence of the teacher? Was once asked of a great Dzogchen master. The answer was, what is the most important quality needed to receive the essence of the teacher? What is that most important quality? The answer was the blessings from the teacher. Again, the student raised the question, what is the most important for receiving the blessings? The answer was to see and view the teacher as having completely achieved wisdom and compassion, as being always with you, and as watching and surrounding you always with truth of the teachings and the blessings of the enlightened ones of the 10 directions. This is true even if the teacher himself is not qualified. So to see and view the teacher as having completely achieved wisdom and compassion, as being always with you, as watching and surrounding you always with the truth. This is true even if the teacher is not even well qualified. You're just using this as a visualization practice to stimulate your access to your inner voice, your inner truth, accessing faculty, which everyone possesses and which can then give you almost what seems to be miraculous insight into your circumstances or into perhaps karmic situations and things that are very difficult to explain. So here we are. So we need the blessings from the teacher. And as an illustration of this, there is the story of a hermit who lived in the forest in early times. Several fishermen in a nearby village suffered through a difficult period in which fish, food, and even clothes were lacking. The fishermen were completely exhausted by this difficult situation. On one day, on the way home, they saw the hermit, who was behaving in a very pleasant and happy manner. They felt inspired by his way of living and decided to devote themselves to receiving teachings from him and renouncing worldly life. They wanted to offer him all their fishing nets and hunting equipment. With complete trust and devotion, they asked him to accept them as his students and give them teachings so that they could achieve enlightenment. The hermit was not qualified to give such teaching, but he did not want to admit that to the fishermen. Therefore, he taught them in a very negative manner. Are you able to trust me completely and do whatever I ask? They replied, absolutely. We're waiting for your instructions, and we'll do everything you ask of us. The hermit said, all of you must hold hands and jump from here down to the lake. The fishermen thought this was a method for teaching very sinful persons, such as fishermen and hunters, how to achieve liberation. So without any doubts, they jumped. Before they fell into the lake, they were all lifted up by an eagle, who was actually a manifestation of the enlightened ones of the 10 directions, and they achieved enlightenment. This is a good example of the necessity of generating complete trust and faith in the teacher, so that the blessings and power of the enlightened ones are always with you. The truth of the teachings of the founder of the Bon, Tonpa Shenrab, T-O-N-P-A, Tonpa Shenrab, S-H-E-N, Shen, R-A-B, Shenrab, S-H-E-N-R-A-B, Tonpa, T-O-N-P-A, Shenrab, S-H-E-N-R-A-B, the founder of the Bon religion that predates everything, that is believed to go back 18,000 years. That's a long time. All right, so, forgive me. All right, we're going to stop here. So afterward, the hermit was very proud that the fisherman had achieved liberation. He mistakenly thought that this had been caused by his guidance. Interesting. He was sure that he could achieve liberation as the fisherman had, so he jumped from his cave to the lake below and was killed. This is symbolic of the result of negative thoughts. Strong blessings and power can appear according to the strength of your own faith. What you receive is dependent on how much trust you have towards the teacher and the teachings. All right, we'll pick this up later. Thank you for watching.